Teamster Power 767 Reality Check with Jeff Schenfeld and Garfield Hooper.
All right, welcome. We have guest this week is Greg Kerwood out of Local 25, Boston, Massachusetts. We welcome him, and today we're going to talk about Article 37. We're going to talk about harassment.
Yeah.
And we know that's an issue. That's always been an issue. It's always going to be an issue. But how we, it's a known thing what the company is going to do. They're going to harass you. The most important thing is how we're going to deal with it. Okay. And we're going to talk about, if they're starting to harass you, what you need to do, when the steward goes in the office and whatnot. So I'm going to start off with Greg. Greg, so what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on the harassment by management?
Well, I think we all know that that's a daily occurrence. But I think it's important for people to understand that unlike a lot of language in our contract, except on rare occasion, harassment Article 37 grievances are built. They're not generally something, you can get lucky, I guess, for lack of a better term, if somebody does something really egregious in a room full of witnesses, and you can make a case very quickly. But in general, it tends to be, constant behavior, something that's happening on a regular basis, and you have to build your case. You have to document things. You have to get witness statements. You have to file probably multiple grievances on a regular basis. Generally the company likes to brush things away, oh, that was a mistake or a one-time thing or whatever. And so part of that process is documenting each instance with a grievance and having, look, this is, we've got 1937s against this person from 5 different people. Clearly there's an issue going on here that extends beyond these 2 people just don't get along. The company likes to poo-poo all this and wash it away and say, oh, it's just a personality conflict or, blame the victim, that type of thing. So I think, and the second part is, you want to get with your steward ASAP. When there's something going on like that, don't give the company the benefit of the doubt. Let your steward know what's going on. Get witness statements if people are there to, because what happens is, suddenly you're 5 situations in, and now you go, oh, I got to do something about this. And you're missing all that documentation from the previous 5 things. And frankly, they may as well not have happened if you don't have that documentation. So it's important to not cut them any slack. Start documenting things as soon as they start to happen, and get with your stewards and make sure you're building a case that's going to be solid in the long run.
This is one of the hardest things I have getting through to people, because so many people are used to be like, oh, well, I filed a 9.5 grievance. They, in a couple of weeks, they get a paycheck and be like, hey, great. All right. That's all I needed to do. 8-hour request. They didn't honor it. A couple of weeks, I get an extra check. Great. And that's the hardest thing for me to get across to people is building an Article 37 grievance against people is a process. It has to start somewhere. At some point, you have to draw the line that says, this is too much. Like, I can't keep up with this. This can't keep happening. And you have to start it. Somebody has to start it. And then chances are somebody else has come to that steward about that manager doing the exact same thing to them. So then the steward's like, well, this is a pattern. So I've had this guy file 2 or 3 Article 37s on this thing's happening. So now I need you to start doing this stuff. You catch, like you said, you could have stuff on, video, if, somebody's doing something or saying something inappropriate. It's important to have the documentation. And if you're going to take a Article 37 to a panel and have it heard and have that person brought up in front of that panel, it's chances are, unless it's like you said, something just egregious, chances are it's going to take several, if not many more than several. Honestly, it's going to take more than it should to have the company hold that person accountable.
I'm going to say something. So when I was a business agent, we go down to the panel, and this one happened to be in Pensacola. And this management person thought he could harass the females, right? And they documented very well. And I'm going to tell you something, and this was my first experience with management going after management. It was so well documented, and that you could tell the committee members on the company side were disgusted. they absolutely railed him. They railed the manager. The union side didn't even have to say a word, barely. I mean, the company railed into him. And you know what they said? He had to fly down from, wherever it was. They told him, once this is done, you immediately check out and you go back. I mean, they absolutely, but that's because there was such good documentation. So now I'm going to go back to the beginning. Okay, so here's the problem. What have we always heard? What have we always heard from people? I don't want them coming after me. They're coming after you no matter what. That's it. Okay. And it shouldn't take 4 or 5 times. I need everyone to be prepared right off the bat. They start harassing you for the first time, you speak to someone and you have to start doing something about it. Don't wait until, no, I've reached my limit. That's not how it works. That's not how this gets done. It's right away at the beginning. You need to speak with people. And this is most likely it's happening to other people, like you've said. And that's the most important thing. It's so troublesome when people are like, oh, I want to file. Then all of a sudden the next day, nah, I'm good. No, come on. I mean, I get it. You're worried, but either you're going to let him get away with it or you're not going to let him get away with it. And I don't know how anyone could just sit there and let anyone get away with doing whatever they want to them. Okay. And that's where the documentation starts, whatever it takes, you do what you have to do and you write it down. And, if you're going in, they're harassing you and you file a grievance, like, the first thing that has to happen is the steward needs to take good notes, right? As well as yourself, as the member. Take good notes so you can go over it after. So after that's done, you can get with the BA and you can give them those notes. You have to write notes. Too many times I've seen stewards come out, they don't even write anything down. It's like, do you remember what happened? I mean, write it down right there. And, they'll see that the company too, that you're starting to, okay, wait a minute, they might come at you differently. Maybe they back off a little. And, that's where all of us, all three of us, we know we've seen it. It's, if you're pushing, that's showing something to the company. If you're not doing anything, they're going to keep walking all over you. We might not all like each other, but the bottom line is we're a union and it's, who we having issues with? The company. So we're all together on this. That's it. We got to make one big wall and say, okay, no, we're not going to let you do this. And like I said, the documentation is most important, right? I mean,
Yep, absolutely. You
have
to have it.
Yeah, it's beyond. And and they see it. They love to see. They'll see if if there's chum in the water, the company just goes right after it. I mean, they just go right after it. And if they see that you keep pushing back, they're less apt to keep coming after you. Maybe they'll try someone else, right? But that next person has to be just as strong. So we all have to be strong. Well, the old saying is, we're only strong as our weakest link. That's the truth. That's the truth. But you can't have someone want to fight for you more than you want to fight for yourself. Right?
100%.
Right. Yep.
And you guys have all seen that. This is you got to want this. You got to want to fight against them. You got to want to not accept them, what they do.
Yeah. And you have to understand, I think that one of the biggest issues with stuff like this is that, people come from an outside environment where, it's a normal world and you sort of have to retrain your brain that you're in UPS world now. Right. And there's no other company like this where people get harassed on a daily basis and intimidated and coerced and screamed at and all that stuff. I mean, anybody walking in cold would think, they landed on a different planet. And so you have to change your mindset because, as normal people, we tend to be forgiving. We tend to oh, well, they were having a bad day or, oh, well, this is it. And you simply can't do that because, as you said, if they sense your weakness, they're going to continue to walk all over you. And so you have to be prepared to draw those lines where they should be drawn immediately and not, always give the benefit of the doubt or cut them slack or whatever it is. Because at the end of the day, professional behavior is professional behavior. And things outside the bounds of professional behavior are outside the bounds. And those bounds exist for a reason. And nobody should have to deal with going into work in fear or going into work, anxious over what's going to happen today or is this going to happen to me or be afraid to talk to someone or be in the same room as someone or that type of thing. That should never happen. That should never happen. And the only way we fight that is by documenting and, as you said, having each other's backs. And, the same goes. If you see that happening to someone else, step in. Don't just sit there and make popcorn and watch it. Step in, butt into the conversation. I have done it many, many times myself. I tell my members to do it. If somebody's harassing somebody, you just walk around and go, hey, what are we talking about? What's going on? What's happening? Did I miss something?
100%.
Right? And just break it to smithereens. And then that whatever will walk away. And then you pull the member aside and say, listen, don't stand for that. Right? Don't blow up. Don't go back and forth. Don't give them what they're looking for. But this is how we fight this, right? You come with me. We'll write this down. We'll document it. We'll file the grievance. We'll put it on paper. We'll start the process. This is how we play this game. Let them do the screaming and the yelling and the intimidating and all that garbage. But we're the ones that are going to win in the end because we do it right.
Well,
And-
quick, just something quick here, and that's important. You just said it. We don't need to scream. There's no situation, and especially if you're the one screaming all the time, it's like, oh, look, he's crying wolf. We don't care. We're not going to pay attention, and they don't get anywhere that way. I mean, if the situation is just a random situation, so and they're just getting out of hand, you do what you have to do, and but being calm, knowing your rights, knowing the contract is the most important thing. And also remember, this isn't about being tough. This is about standing up for yourself. Too many times I've seen people try to act tough and, oh, I'm going to do it. No, you're not. No, you're not. Okay. We're going to follow the contract. We're going to know our rights and we're going to help each other out and we're going to do this the right way. So the end game is if they have two or more harassment, they have to appear at the panel. And the end game is up to 5 times your daily guarantee that you could receive.
Yeah.
And, they're going to obviously have to put, they're going to have to stop they're going to have a talking with, management's going to have a talking with that supervisor, whoever it is, so it's all, and that's keeping it together and doing it the right way. So
I think it's important too to come across as like, if this company turns employees into bad employees, that's what the toxic environment of UPS does. Like I had this conversation this week with a driver. He's new, probably been full-time for 2, maybe 3 years. And he's a go-getter. He's the guy that always goes out there, gets the job done, goes home. Like, he doesn't complain. He doesn't file grievances. And lately, he's got enough seniority that he can bid on vacation routes when they're open. And, well, unfortunately, he's been the guy they've been dependent on. So when he bids on vacation routes and one of the routes that he knows he's the only one in the center that knows how to efficiently do, it's like, well, we're going to put you on this route instead. Well, now he's finally started, we've talked to him several times and he's finally started filing his 48 grievances for that, for his 2 hours penalty pay because he bid on the route. That's his route for that week. And the management has started getting like real pissy about him. I was like, look, those are his rights. Like, this is it. Sure. You know what? You have the right to put him on whatever he has to do. We have to work as instructed. He has the right to file the grievance. Well, he got fed up with it one day this week, and it was early enough in the morning before start time. He was like, well, if you're going to put me on this route, it was way heavy, then I'm just going to take an option day and go home. And the supervisor just completely lost it on him. And I was like, look, that's his right. Like, he has the right to run this route. And if you want to force him on another route, that's your route to do. But he has another way he can go. Instead of doing this, he can just go home. The supervisor didn't have a leg to stand on because we were flush that day. We didn't have any more. If he went home, then we were going to have a route sit. So, we ended up having to have that fight, and they had pissed him off enough that he just took his option day and went home. I mean, they want to make that fight. They want to have that fight. Then, they're going to suffer the consequences, and they're going to keep doing it unless you stand up to them. That's the point. You have to stand up for your rights, and it takes somebody getting fed up with this company to do it.
Yeah. Just again, like I said, I just hope it doesn't take after 4 or 5 times. That's it. It's finally, because I just I think that's the hardest thing is to get someone right away. Well, I've gotten this far where I haven't had to do stuff. Well, this isn't the same company you used to be.
No.
Things are a lot different. Okay. And we all know that.
Yeah.
And, that mindset is not working anymore. We used to be able to do certain things. It's not the way it is. They'll come after anybody. They don't care. Seasoned veteran, new guy, doesn't matter. It really doesn't. And I think every part of the process matters. Every part of it. And everyone's got to, you try like we do on here. We try to educate. We try to empower. We try to make members stronger. That's it. And you have to be right off the bat stronger. And that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
So Greg, let me ask you a question. Is there anything specific that they're up out in Boston, they're coming after you? Like anything, like, because there's always certain times or whatnot. What's the flavor of the day?
The flavor of the day, gee, they've got so many going right now.
I know.
As you know, in UPS world, there's too many bodies at this point, according to them.
Yeah.
So, attendance is big. They're hitting on attendance hard. They're always doing the check-ins, miss scans, all that stuff. The supervisors are out following people every day. That's what the company wants out of them at this point. So, you have to be prepared. And as you said before, that worry about, well, I don't want to have a target on my back. If you work at UPS, you got a target on your back. It's really that simple.
That's simple.
There's no way around it.
You're gonna make a choice whether you're gonna stand up and fight and demand the respect that you deserve as a human being, or you're gonna put your head down and let them crush you until you quit in frustration. And and beyond that, I think one of my favorite parts of your show is the quote you have at the end every time, that the strongest people stand up for others.
Yep.
Because that's what it's really about. I mean, you and myself and Garfield, we can all stand up for ourselves. We don't have an issue with that, and we wouldn't be doing what we're doing. But the more important thing is that you don't let that stuff happen in front of you. You don't let things go unanswered, unspoken to, unaddressed. You stand up for people who either can't or don't know how yet to stand up for themselves. And, that's what makes us stronger. That's what makes us a union. That's what makes us effective. That's what makes us powerful. And so, like you said, it's not a tough guy act. It's not I'm this and that, whatever. It's we are, whether we're tough or we're not tough. If we stand up and we stand together, we can't be stopped. And that's really the important message to get through.
Yep. Absolutely.
100%.
So, yep. Any last words, Greg? Anything?
At this point, I really love your show. I do. I'm flattered to be on it. I think you guys do a fantastic job. It's on point every week, and
appreciate that.
I wish more people in more regions would do it. Obviously, you guys address the Southern. I don't have those option days like that.
Oh, yeah.
It took one because I'm in New England, so it's a little different ball game. But I wish we had more of this around the country so that members could get the information they need and learn how to fight back. Yeah.
Well, good. Garfield, any last words?
No, just keep on fighting. That's what it is. It's every day. Some people have it in it to fight for everybody else. Some people just have it in to fight for themselves, but that's okay. Like, we're here as long as we work as a team, like, we can keep it going and take it to the company, because I know people don't like each other. Sometimes you work with people every day, they get on your nerves, but we don't need to. That stuff needs to leave when you get in the building. If you got to fight to get into at UPS, it needs to be with management, not with other drivers, not with other part-timers or other members.
Yep, agreed. So again, you can catch Greg with David Allen on the Roswell Hub. They do a fantastic job. Absolutely. I mean, these guys have been doing it for a long time, and myself and Garfield, we commend them. So it was great to have Greg on, and for myself and Garfield, have a good day.
We all deal with national language, but on this podcast, when it comes to supplemental language, we deal mostly with the Southern region. And as always, it's best to get advice from your local stewards or business agents. If you would like to reach out to us with any questions, we have an email address. 767realitycheck@gmail.com. That's 767realitycheck@gmail.com.
And remember, strong people stand up for themselves, but the strongest people stand up for others.